Hello and welcome to DTV, your source for news and information about the Knox County Democratic Party. I'm Michael Davis, and I'll be your host for today's program with House Minority Leader Craig Fitzhugh, who is running for the governor of Tennessee and will be on the ballot for the upcoming primary elections on Thursday, August 2nd. Mr. Fitzhugh,
yes.
Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you, Michael.
It's an honor to have a chance to talk with you here.
Good.
Thank you so much, and welcome to DTV.
Thank you very much. Good to be here.
All right. So you've been busy on the campaign trail, I guess, but where have you been in the last few days?
Well, back and forth across this long, narrow state. We started in, I came in from Memphis, and my home's in West Tennessee, and came in from home late last night to Nashville, started early in Nashville and came to Rockwood for a sort of a picnic cookout, and then here, and I've got a couple of appointments after this. Spend the night here, spend tomorrow in Knoxville, and then head back west for the for Saturday. Okay. And take a little time off on Sunday, and then start again. You know, we're getting pretty close. It's only 15 days until early voting starts, so the pressure's on.
Right, coming down to the wire here. So being a candidate for governor is a tremendous opportunity and undertaking.
It is.
And responsibility, let alone serving as governor. What in your life have you experienced that has influenced your decision to run for this job?
Well, you know, that's sort of how I figured out I was going to run. I just kept looking back over my life. I'm a blessed man, public school guy. My whole family went to public school, and then I was the first person in my family to go to college, as was my wife. So I had the opportunity with good education, good base education. Lived in the rural area, went in the Air Force and served for 4 years as a JAG officer, practiced law for 12 with one other partner, went into the banking business with my father, and that's my occupation right now, and then spent 24 years in the legislature. And I guess it's sort of that body of work, those things sort of influenced me, and I wasn't really ready to give up yet, although I'd been in the legislature 24 years. I just decided, you know, I've done this for something, and the purpose seemed to be to run for governor.
Okay. So what do you see as the top challenges for our state over the next 8 years?
Well, you know, fundamentally, Tennessee's in pretty good shape. We've been fundamentally, and most of the time when you say fundamentally, we talk about financially. And we have a low tax state. We have a solid bond rating, a very good bond rating, as a matter of fact. We have low debt. You know, those are the positive things. But on the other hand, we're improving in education in some fields, but we rank low in a lot of areas. In education, in childhood health, we're very low. In obesity, in many chronic diseases, and our quality of life, even though it's a great state to live and it's a wonderful state, our quality of life is amongst the lowest in the country. So we've got a lot of work to do in that particular area. And when I talk about quality of life, I'm talking about, you know, everything from health care to the ability to have a good job with good pay, hospitals and medical care in your particular area where you live, rural or urban, and things like that just make a good community. So we've got a good base, and we just need to expand on it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Oftentimes when we talk about how the state is doing, it does seem to be really framed by just purely financial, economical terms. I think maybe that does a disservice to what it really means to live in a state and what quality of life is, as you said. So what are some of the stories and things that you're hearing from people that you're meeting over the course of your campaign about these kinds of issues?
Yeah. Well, we sort of have a slogan. I say, you know, I'm not really worried about those folks in the skyscrapers. They'll do just fine. It's those folks in the shadows of the skyscrapers, whether it be in the city or whether it be in the rural areas.
Right.
You know, it's things like that, the basics, really. We have food deserts throughout this state. People have trouble getting good, fresh food, and especially children, and that sets up problems with educating them and with their health. You know, housing has become a problem in two different areas. In those areas that are not doing so well financially, good, adequate, affordable housing is hard to find.
Okay.
For the reason that it's just not there. And in some of the cities, and there are a lot of them that are booming, as is this one right here, Knoxville. There's a problem because it's too expensive. It's too expensive to afford to live. Nashville is the example that we give first because of the rising values in real estate and that type of thing. But it's happening all over the state. So we still have a lot of room to grow in housing, in jobs, and the quality of jobs that we have. We've got a low unemployment rate, and that's fine. But you know as well as I do, when somebody has not been employed for a while, they sort of fall off of that chart that they measure.
Right.
So it may not be as tight as it is. But this is a factor that I've just learned recently, that in Tennessee, per capita, we have more people working at the minimum wage than any other state. And there's not much American dream in that.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's a statistic that's often left out of that employment. Unemployment rate is like, what quality of job are we talking about? How does that contribute to a wealth gap?
Yep.
And what's definitely an issue that we see in Tennessee.
We do have that wealth gap in Tennessee, that as in our country, I think. But we really hope we can narrow that, where we have that strong middle class is what this country's all about, and certainly what our state is all about. Yeah.
So do you have any, you mentioned some particular things there. Do you have any specific policies that you'd like to see implemented to address these? Thinking especially in terms of what you would be able to do within your powers as a governor.
Well, education is the key thing, and education is not a quick fix, it's the only fix. But we need to start. And I'm convinced that early childhood education is the key. If we can get a child to be able to learn to read at grade level by the 3rd grade, after that child can read to learn after that. Can learn science, can learn math, music, art, their history, their background. They can learn to use that mind, maybe not memorize a bunch of things, but have the ability to have some comprehension of what they read. So I think pre-K is something we need to begin to expand so it's universally there. And even things other than direct school type pre-Ks, home visitation in families that maybe a first-time mother or a family that doesn't have the adequate resources. We have programs like that make a real difference, and I would like to see those expanded.
Okay. Yeah. You see any particular challenges to implementing any of those policies?
Well, money's always a challenge, and this governor, Governor Haslam, is the first governor in quite a while that has not seen a recession. Remember, we came out of the recession when he came in, so it's been doing this. I don't think the next governor can make it 4, or certainly not 8 years.
Statistically speaking, you wouldn't bet on that.
That's right. It's going to happen. There'll be a downturn. Just the odds are there for that. So we've got to, we can have all these great goals about paying our teachers more and getting pre-K and doing better with our health care and putting broadband everywhere in the state. I mean, everybody wants to do that. Right. And that's what we say as candidates, yes, yes, yes. But, we're going to have to make sure that that this economy keeps rolling, because we have a very limited means of revenue in this state, of generating revenue. And I say that because we have a sales tax that's the highest in the country. And it's hard to get it above 10% because it's a very regressive tax.
Right.
Although it's a tax that and here's the key, if we can keep this economy going in Tennessee, we'll get more revenue because people will buy things, and that's how we get our sales tax. So that's the key to keeping the ability to use that tax revenue for education, for health care, for broadband, for opioid problems, that type of thing.
That leads to a good question that I was planning to ask you about. Tennessee, as you mentioned, has been rated one of the most regressive tax states in the country for several years, meaning that the lower your income, the more of a burden, the more of a percentage of your income your state's taxes take out of you. So this does hurt our people on the lower end of the economic scale more than anybody else. So you mentioned sales tax there. Are there any other options on the table, especially considering the amendment that was passed several years ago to ban an income tax? What tools does a Tennessee governor, within the governor's power, have to change this situation?
Right. Well, I think we've got some good ones, and they're sort of outside the box. Recall that just this last week, the Supreme Court allowed the taxation of internet sales. And we had been hoping and waiting for that and working toward that in Tennessee. Even back years ago, I was involved in the Streamlined Sales Tax Act, and we never got it passed because the Congress hadn't done anything about it. But now we'll be able to capture those taxes, not new taxes, taxes that were really due and people should have paid, but there was no means of enforcement and the law was not clear whether they really had to. Now it is. So I think that's a tremendous opportunity for us. Okay. Some people say 200, some people say 4. I think, frankly, it's going to be even more than that. Okay. So that's a good thing. And then another one that I mentioned that's just happened is the internet gambling now is apparently it was coming out of the underground and coming up because we know it's a tremendous amount of money. Tennessee, it happens here. We need to regulate it. We need to tax it, and we need to keep people's taxes from going up by using some of that. So I think that's another opportunity.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Tennessee has recently been a very conservative-leaning state, both fiscally and socially, with the Republican agenda appearing to have a fair amount of support among voters in this state. Still, many people point out that some of these conservative and Republican policies actually, that some of these voters appear to favor, actually work against them, especially in, for example, Medicaid expansion. It seems that, well, the ACA is still the law of the land.
That's right.
All Americans are paying into it. Most states that have expanded Medicaid have seen public health benefits and improvements, and these improvements logically lead to an overall public health improvement that sees an increased ability to contribute to their state, both economically and socially. So it seems that people would be in favor of this, yet many voters still stand against the ACA and Medicaid expansion, which effectively exports our dollars to other states for the benefit of their citizens. So what's the disconnect here? Is it just in the legislature, or is there an issue of understanding within the public as well?
Well, I think, first of all, that was a very good explanation, but I think it's a little bit of both. It all started politically. With Obamacare, and that either you liked that or you hated it, and people still hate it, even though it's still there. So that I think that's the biggest impediment that started. And then you had other mainly legislatures reminding people of when we had to pull back our rolls in Medicare some years ago, and they remember that their family maybe were cut off, and they didn't want that to happen again. But as we've gone through the years since this started 4 or 5 years ago, the material reasons for not doing it go away. Now there is really no reason from a monetary standpoint, a moral standpoint, or a medical standpoint why we ought not do this. I'll give you 2 quick examples, which you mentioned states doing better. The states that have expanded Medicaid have seen a dramatic 16% on average reduction in the opioid problem in their state. And in addition, Louisiana, who's one of the last states to expand, of which there are 34 now, more, there's only, 16 that haven't, including Tennessee, they have seen in the less than 2 years 16,000 new jobs, either directly or indirectly as a result. Okay. I think I think after this election we will finally be over the Obama care part of it, and I think people with a new crop of legislators, and we're going to have some, I think it's doable. It will be my first priority as a governor, because it, even if it lasts only 1 or 2 years, it will help people in that period of time. And I think when you got 34 states doing it, I don't think it's going away.
Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of research has been done on the minds of voters and why they tend to favor something and why they don't, especially in these sort of paradoxical situations where you have what seem to be clear-cut facts, yet something may still be rejected. So what do we do? What would you do? What does a legislative coalition do to change minds in Tennessee, to get people to reconsider some of these ideas, or to accept something that would on the whole, be beneficial for them.
Well, in the caucus that I'm in now, I'm in the legislature, as you know, and lead the Democratic caucus. We have accepted many of the things that Governor Haslam wanted to do with his plan. So we've collaborated with each other. We've cooperated to make it better for both sides. And I go back again. I think I think we just have to wear out the reasons why people don't like it. Just keep hitting that and saying, well, really, now you don't have that problem, and 34 states have done it. Jobs are there. Help with things like opioid is there. Hospitals won't close. That's another huge thing. We have more hospitals closing in Tennessee per capita again than any other state. So as those reasons pile up, I think there's a tipping point, and I just truly believe we're getting there.
All right.
Yeah.
So you mentioned hospital associations, I think, and other potential legislators and current legislators. Given that the governor's office is limited on passing laws like this,
right,
but recognizing that it's in a major leadership role, who are some of your other allies that you bring on to that sort of campaign to expand Medicaid or do some other things that you think are best for the state?
Well, there are those healthcare professionals, almost without I'd say without exception. Everybody, it will positively affect everybody from the biggest hospitals. They may not close without it, but their charity care is such that they may have to back off on some of their more maybe expensive or esoteric or more specialized services. And then you get down to the rural health, and where it's awfully hard now to locate physicians, even physicians assistants and nurse practitioners in rural areas. So and then the people that work with those that don't have the ability to have health care, they know the positives with having something so that a person can get on a regular plan with a doctor, will have a better diet, will have a better ability to take care of their family monetarily when some of those costs are now picked up by their insurance. So I think I don't know that really, except for those political reasons and some misinformation about what would happen if prices went up or they got knocked off the plan. I think most everybody is positively for it. So we have to generate enough of a mass of support to and again, I talk about the new legislators that are coming in. Now it may work just the opposite. If you got 25 new legislators and they may be scared to walk out on this plank, but I don't think it's a plank anymore. I think with 34 states doing it, it's really a slam dunk.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, as I was alluding to, you've been a legislator for many years now.
Yeah.
The governor's office is quite different,
Yeah.
being an executive office, and in one that you won't be directly writing and passing laws, but ensuring that they're carried out. Still, gubernatorial leadership goes a long way on those fronts. So, what about you and your experiences qualify you for this kind of position?
Well, I think my legislative experience does, because I know the legislature. I know it inside and out. And I know the governor's office, because I've been fortunate to serve in leadership both when we were in the majority and now that we're in the minority. And I'm in the governor's office almost on every week we have a leadership meeting there. I know what the governor does. And I know that the governor in this state, it's a strong governor position in this state, and certainly the legislature is the one that passes the laws and can't anything be done without it. But there are proposals that the governor can make. The budget is under the initial control of the governor. He or she will be the one that sets the budget out, and of course the budget means where your priorities are.
Right.
So there's an awful lot a governor can do working with the other side. I'll use that word collaborate again. I think we have much common ground if we're willing to give and take on issues that are not core issues that we can't budge on. But frankly, I think the nature and the makeup of Tennessee's legislature and executive branch is such that we're pretty close on some of these issues if we can resolve some differences on them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Turning to education.
Okay.
Always a big issue, and especially so now. How would you guide Tennessee's public education issues at all its level? And we're talking pre-K through university, which have all been issues over the past several months and years. over the coming years regarding school vouchers,
Right.
issues like school vouchers and charters, diversity issues, inequity issues, from one school to the next, even within counties, something that we experience here in Knox County to a great deal. Basic funding, and also the executive and legislative branch's involvement in the UT system.
All right, you're right. Well, education has been an active area in this administration, and the prior administration too. We've made some tremendous strides in that, but we took some. Excuse me. The teachers took some hits early on in this administration, and we lost some teachers. The new way of evaluating teachers got off to a horrible start. It's better now, and I think we've turned the corner on that. The testing has just been abysmal,
Right.
and we don't really know if we've got a good test or not, because if you can't administer it, it loses its credibility before you even get to taking it and grading it.
Right.
So we need to have a smoother approach at improvement, I think. We've got to make sure that what we do to improve education, especially in the early years, or the pre-K through 12, that we take it a step at a time, because I usually, in my bank, if we were to offer a new product, we research it and we throw it out there. If it doesn't work, we may lose some customers, we may lose a little money, but we don't lose a child.
Right.
If we start something and it's not worked out right in education, we may lose that whole year of that child's education. So
Yeah.
we have to be a little more cognizant of that type of thing. I do think we are, for the most part, on the right track, as long as we stay away from vouchers, as long as we stay away from the expensive charter schools that just drag money from our limited source for our state. We're 46th in funding. And that makes it, to me, not a good idea to take some of that money out and use it for vouchers or charters or other things like that. I don't think it helps the vouchers or the charters, and it certainly doesn't help our public school system. We've got to guard against that. And then we're going to have to figure out a way to pay our teachers more. It's
Right.
that simple. We've got to have good teachers, and teachers are smart people, and they know, even though they want to be a teacher, there's a point where, they could be a doctor or a nurse or whatever, and have a lot better life for their family than teaching. And we want them to be teachers like they want to be. We want to train them good, and we want to pay them and respect them as a result of that.
You mentioned budgetary priorities signaling values previously. Do you think that would be part and parcel to the budget there?
Oh yes, I think so. I mean, we spend the three major issues that I see are education, healthcare, and jobs, and really that's how we spend our money in our budget. So it's all about priorities, and we just but we can't wait until we have a problem. Like teacher salaries, we don't need to just, maybe next year. We need to bite the bullet and get some funding so we can incrementally bring those teacher salaries up, and before long they'll be okay. Remember now, in Governor Bredeson's term, we had BEP 2.0, and that was to get to a $40,000 salary, a minimum salary, and we're not there yet. So we've not even completed something that happened over 8 years ago. So we've got a long way to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, as governor, you'd be perhaps the highest profile ambassador for the state of Tennessee to other states in the country. You'd be directly involved with Tennessee's business with other states. Governors also have direct involvement with and connection to the White House on certain issues. What opportunities and challenges do you see there?
Oh, well, I think, my whole political campaign has been, and life for that matter, has been based on people. People matter, helping people, and I like people. And I think part of it is being able to know your state, know what your state's strengths and weaknesses are, what our history is, what we really need, and then go out and try to convince somebody to come our way with it from an economic standpoint, and from a standpoint is, look, people are going to come to Tennessee and live. They're going to, if they live in New York, they're going to come. It's too cold, and they're going to come as far south till they have 4 seasons and water. And then from Florida, it's too hot. They're going to come up. So we're going to get the people. We just have to have our state prepared for those, with a good workforce, good transportation system, good internet, good health care, and of course, good education.
Okay. very important question that our viewers would like you to answer. You have a primary challenger, former mayor of Nashville, Carl Dean. The general election Republican opponent, regardless of who it is likely to be a populist, well-known, well-funded individual who will be closely aligning themselves with Donald Trump and his policies. Why would you be the Democrat with the best chance of winning in the general election?
I think it's that body of work that I talked about. I'm a rural guy. I know rural areas. I was born and raised in a rural area and lived there all my life. But at the same time, I'm close to Memphis. I understand cities. I've lived in Nashville, frankly, for the last 24 years, about half time, and I spent 7 great years up in the University of Tennessee to get a flavor of Knoxville and East Tennessee. So I think I know the whole state, and I think my ability to work with the other side and to give us sort of a balance. I think if we could put a Democrat in the governor's seat, that we get an automatic better balance, and we're out of balance now. I think even Republicans will tell you they have such a majority that they have trouble working together. So I think if I can get that type of thing out to folks when we hit the general election, I think I truly think I'm the best opponent for the Republicans to come out successful in that race in the Democratic primary.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we've got just a little bit of time left here today. Turning back to economic development real quickly, looking ahead, what is, you were mentioning some of the upswing in the economy and some of the growth of our cities. A lot of people are concerned about sustainable growth, though. What does sustainability look like to you in that development?
Well, we have to take care of our infrastructure. We can't let it get so bad that it's not sustainable, and some of it it needs repairs and fixing, and I'm talking about everything from basic plumbing of our cities and towns to roads to that type of thing. We have to make those that they'll go forward. We have to take care of our state from an environmental perspective and from a clean air and clean water. We have to sustain our state literally so that our children and grandchildren will have a good, clean place to live. We have to always keep that in mind. Energy costs, we have to look at different ways that we get our energy and have a comprehensive approach to using a lot of different forms of energy to make it first economical and secondly environmentally safe. So and then we don't need to use any tricks and balances in balancing budgets and things like that. We need steady growth. That curve is always good when it goes up, but it's better if it goes up like this rather than up and down and up and down. So that's the key to make things sustainable. Good jobs, quality manufacturers, quality. We need to give incentives because that's just the competitive way we are. But we need to give incentives to quality companies that want to come here and will make it a home for a long time. Okay. And you put all that together, we have as I said, God put us in a great place, surrounded by 8 states, right in the middle of the South. We can make this a great place for my children, your children, and their children to live.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's been great having you here with us today. I'd like to remind our viewers that early voting starts on July the 13th and runs through the 28th. In Knox County, we have Saturday voting now. Those hours for early voting are 10 to 6 through the weekdays and 11 to 5 on Saturdays. And Election Day is Thursday, August 2nd, not on a Tuesday this time around, so be sure to be aware of that. But we encourage you to get out there and vote in the Democratic primary. Craig Fitzhugh, any last words that you'd like to leave our viewers with today?
Well, I thank you for the opportunity. It was a great time to talk. But Tennessee is 50th in voter turnout. Let's do better than that. Whether you vote Independent, Democrat, or Republican, we can do better than that. Okay. So let's leave it with getting out to vote.
I wholeheartedly agree. Thank you so much for being here with us today. I'm Michael Davis, and you've been watching DTV.